Hey, 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 what do you say, everyone? Welcome to Teal Time with Hope. I am the host, Hope Aguilar, and I am hoping you're having a wonderful day full of hope, full of sunshine, full of amazing, awesome things. Welcome to a new episode. It is Tuesday, September the 17th, and I don't have a guest on for y'all today because I'm pretty much putting a guest on every other week, which when September is over, Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. Of course, when this month is over, I'll go back to doing one every other week and hopefully with a guest in each episode. I'm reaching out to people trying to see who would be open to being a guest. People have busy, busy schedules, and I get that. I'm just hoping to reach the world, y'all. Trying to reach the world with ovarian cancer awareness and bringing on a guest, as I've said before, who have gone through it themselves, like the wonderful Kimberly Simmons Emery and Miss Shannon Ralph Shannon, forgive me. Still have a problem with that last name, but it's like South, just with an R, Ralph. And of course, Nurse Kelly. And she, of course, didn't go through it herself, but she works in the field and she had a lot of good stuff to say. And I'm so happy I got to have her on, as well as the two who have not just survived it, but are thriving, doing amazing things with their advocacy. And next week, I have a wonderful guest who is a survivor as well. But I also want to make sure that y'all know that unfortunately, our statistics are really horrible, especially when it's diagnosed in the late stages. And so there are so many people who pass away, so many beautiful, wonderful women who pass away from this insidious disease. And their stories are also going to be shared by those who are here to carry their torch, to keep the awareness going in memory of them. There's a wonderful woman in Australia, and she and her sister had such a bond. Just very seldom do I see a sisterly bond like that, other than my identical twin sisters that I know here. At any rate, I hope to bring in Elsa Larsen, which is the sister of Kristen Larsen out in Australia. She's continued to do amazing work for her sister. Basically, just want y'all to know that we're going to try on this podcast to reach not just to the survivors and the thrivers and the warriors that have battled it and or are battling it, but also to those who are left behind with heartache but want to do something with said heartache and bring out that awareness so others won't have to feel that pain that they feel every day of their life since they lost either a mother, a sister, a daughter, somebody just very close to them who's passed away, even a wife. This podcast is to also reach out to those people. And if you're listening and you know somebody that you think I would love Teal Time with Hope to interview this person, send me a shout out. You can send me a direct message through this Spotify. You can send me an email at tealtimewithhope@gmail.com. There are many ways to get a hold of me. I have my socials as well that I'll post here. Just if anybody is aware of somebody else who could be interviewed, I can fit them in. I will be happy to do so. And I don't care where they are. I want to reach the world, like I said, and that is definitely not going to change because there are stories, not just in Texas, not just in America. There are stories everywhere because cancer is everywhere. And even though we're not as prevalent as breast cancer, even though we're not as prevalent as other cancers, like Nurse Kelly said, in the grand scheme of it all, ovarian cancer is more on the rare side, the totality of all cancers. That being said, it does not take away from the fact that it is still a horrible, horrible disease, and a disease that I hope that we will one day no longer have to deal with, just like all cancers. One day, I hope we'll never have to deal with. But until that time, we just have to keep moving forward. And I say that as something that is like one of my ethos. Keep moving forward. I'm doing that. The survivors out there are doing that. The loved ones of those who have passed away are doing that. But it's also a matter of how you keep moving forward. That's so important. And for me, this is one of the ways that I keep moving forward. I get up, I get out of the bed, and yes, sometimes it's very difficult to get out of the bed, not because I'm going through chemo treatment. It's been over 3 years. Glory to God that I haven't had any chemo treatment. And when I was going through that treatment, yes, it was hard for me to get out of the bed simply because of the massive amount of fatigue I had, simply because my body was just in a funk, in a place where it was just depleted of energy. Most of the energy in me was being sucked out because of the darn chemotherapy. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm not a big advocate for chemotherapy. I know there are other treatments out there that are being worked on in other countries, in our country as well, proton therapy and others as well. But right now, all I had, all my options were chemotherapy, and I did what I needed to do because I still want to be here. That could change in the future. I mean, I'm not that I don't want to still be here, and not that the wanting to be here will change. I don't foresee that's ever going to change. My luster for life is just, it's too strong, y'all. The reason I just say that, though, also is because if this ugly disease ever comes back, and I know the stats are kind of like saying it's probably gonna come back. It is a chronic disease in a lot of ways now, but I'm staying hopeful, and I'm staying optimistic and positive and believing that it's not gonna come back. But big if it comes back, I may not want to keep putting myself through chemotherapy if that's the only option that I'm gonna have, is to just keep putting that poison in my body. And each person going through cancer, regardless of the type of cancer, they're going to have to make that choice for themselves. Some people choose not to do it at the beginning. They're like, nope, I'm not going to do it. Some people stop after a couple of treatments. There's a lot that goes with it. The body goes through a lot. It's not just what you see on TV. It's not just what you see in the movies. It's way more than that. Way more than that. And everybody can be different too. Some people lose all of their hair. Some people lose some of their hair. And when I say all of their hair, I mean all their hair, y'all. I lost my eyelashes. So these are all brand new eyelashes. And then some people lose their hearing. Some people lose their vision. Like I had to have cataract surgery because my left eye got really bad. I got infections in my eyes during chemo treatment, during the second one and during the third one. I think the second one was the worst. And so chemo does a lot to the body. Chemo does just so much. And nobody, unless they're going through it, will know the gravity of that, the intensity of that. And that's okay. That's why we fight, right? That's why we talk about it. That's why we do this awareness. That's why we pass on the symptom cards. That's why we have guests. And that's why we have podcasts to have guests, because we want to save women's lives, or simply just save them from having to go through all of the craziness that a lot of us have had to go through, from all the things with your vision, your hearing, the hair loss, the weakness, the fatigue, the neuropathy, the nerve damage. That's why we do what we do, moving forward with purpose. Starting this podcast is part of that purpose for me. Writing the book Hope Through Cancer was part of that purpose for me. I didn't set off to be a huge advocate. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to do something. I just knew I wanted to be more than just barely existing for Hope Aguilar. I wanted to do more, be more for not myself, but for others. I've been told that I'm selfless. I don't see it as selfless. I just see it as no choice. I have no choice but to keep moving forward with purpose. And yes, of course, everybody has a choice. Everything is a choice to a degree. And I guess if that's true, then I choose to keep moving forward with purpose, because I want to do more and be more in this life before it's my time to say goodnight and go to the sweet by and by, which is in heaven. That's what motivates me. That's what keeps me going. Okay, well, I have a friend. She is one of my motivators in life. She is a person that believes in me, a person who sees in me a lot of good. And I'm very blessed to have friends like that, more than just one, thankfully. I'm very, very grateful for them. And I feel like I'm lazy in a lot of ways, while at the same time I know I'm not lazy in a lot of ways. But this friend in particular, she's a hard worker. She works a lot because she's got goals and she's got dreams and she's got ambitions. She motivates me. When I see all the things that she's doing and how she just keeps plugging along and doing her thing, I'm like, oh my God. I'm trying with podcasting, with more writing, with advocating, with volunteering. There's just so much I want to do. And I know part of it, and we'll touch on this maybe one day with maybe a counselor we can bring in and talk about the mental health aspect of what it's like going through cancer and what that does to us psychologically. I think that's important to talk about because I think we don't talk enough about it. I know I don't talk enough about it, even though my degree is in psychology. There is some things that I don't think that I was really like aware of when it comes to like anxiety. How am I not going to get out of this without any anxiety? I went through cancer and then I went through cancer again. And then I went through cancer again. I went through 24 treatments of chemotherapy. I went through 2 major surgeries, one that took all my reproductive organs, all my baby making parts out, and another to, take the cancer out when it came back in 2020. How do you not walk away with having some anxiety? And of course, some depression. There are bits of depression in there, not so much because of cancer, but because I lost my mother to COVID. Then I lost my stepdad. Then I lost one of my uncles, one of my 5 uncles. There's only one left. And I was kind of closer to him since I was a kid. One of my stepsisters, one of my cousins just passed away. And it's just, there's a lot. My brother almost died of a heart attack. There's just a lot that happens in this world. And it just happened to happen in a 5-year span for me from 2019 to 2023 mostly. And then my cousin actually 2024. So within a 5 to 6 year span, predominantly those 5 years, y'all, things happened in my life. I don't like to say things happened to me because I think words matter. And for me personally, I don't want to say this happened to me. It just happened in my life. How do you keep moving forward without having a little bit of anxiety, without depression? So I have a little bit of depression. I talked to a psychiatrist and he said, yeah, it's understandable with everything that you've been through, Hope. But I don't think you're, seriously depressed. And I think that's really just, my name is Hope. And I just have this eternal optimistic thing in me, like it's in my DNA. It's in my blood to always be hopeful and to be positive and live by my name. That said, I do have some sadness from time to time. And I think podcasting, writing, being out there outside, Ubering and volunteering, I think those things definitely do really good for my brain. I really, really feel that's what works with me. And having a beautiful, awesome cat next to me is also something that gives me joy. But the anxiety part, y'all, that is real. The way the psychiatrist said it is, it's almost as if you are waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I guess that makes sense. It's like you don't want to think, is cancer coming back? You don't want to think, is this cancer coming back? Anytime I have pain, right? So it comes and it goes. When I have back pain, when I feel like I'm not eating as much, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, is this cancer returning? Is cancer going to return? How much time do I have? I need to really get things going, y'all. That's part of how my brain works now. It never worked like that before. To a degree, it worked like that when I first got cancer, but then the years turned into more years, and I almost went 7 years in remission. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about like the mental aspect, the psychological aspect of what it's like when you go through something as devastating as cancer, whether early stage or whether late stage, because cancer is just cancer. And when the doctor tells you those words, you have cancer, those 3 words. It doesn't matter if it's early stage or late stage. It's devastating. You might think, am I going to die? Is this going to kill me? Am I going to make this? Even if you don't verbally acknowledge that, even if you don't tell anybody that, I just believe that in the recesses of our mind that it does pop up. Like, am I going to die? I never allowed myself to think like that. I wrote that in Hope Through Cancer because I knew that I couldn't afford to think like that. Even if it was there, and I don't doubt it was, I didn't let myself engage and jump into that thought process and go down that rabbit hole because I know it would have been hard to get out of it because I did study psychology and because I do know that much about life. Like Shannon said, we have a PhD in this life. And so, yeah, that's something that the whole part of this, the mental aspect of going through the trauma, and it is trauma, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, right? There is a PTSD component. And I think there is more and more being written about it for cancer survivors and PTSD. And it's what you do with it. It's about moving forward and what you're doing with moving forward. And if moving forward is just getting up out of that bed, that is awesome. That is also something wonderful to be happy about because you're getting up. There used to be a commercial back in the day for a donut place. I think it was Dunkin'. It was a commercial about this guy that would get up in the morning and his alarm would go off and he's like, his alarm would go off and he'd be like, "It's time to make the donuts. Time to get up and make the donuts," or something like that. It has been with me, y'all, for years and years and years and years now. Time to get up and make the donuts. And that's what I would do to motivate myself. That and kind of like jump up and down in my bed like Jim Carrey in the movie Bruce Almighty. And there's a scene, YouTube it, it's hilarious, where he doesn't want to get out of the bed. And Jennifer Aniston's like, "It's time to get up." And he's like, "No, I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up." And she like takes the covers off of him and he's like jumping up, like he's just bouncing up and down in the bed while he's laying down, mind you. And that's kind of how I am sometimes. I have to motivate myself with "It's time to make the donuts" and the Jim Carrey, jumping up and down while I'm laying down in the bed. So I guess it wouldn't be jumping up and down, but get what I'm saying, y'all. Because it matters. Getting up and getting out of the bed and getting out there matters. That is the first step, is to get out of the bed. That's part of moving forward. And I'm not saying everybody that's gone through cancer, everybody's listening to this, y'all are lazy if you're not out there doing something great with your life. I'm never going to say that. I don't judge anybody. You have your own life to live, and you'll live it in the way that you feel you need to live it. And I can't ever say anything about that. I just say that for me. For me, that's what I do. I get up out of the bed in whatever way, whether it's about making donuts or laying down and jumping up in some weird, funny way, like Jim Carrey and Bruce Almighty. And sometimes I just get up, I lean on the side of my bed, and I just talk to God. I just thank God for a new day. And then I get up. Sometimes I make my coffee. Sometimes I miss my breakfast. Sometimes I wish I didn't skip my breakfast because then I'm hungry later. And laughter, obviously, because I'm silly. And I think laughter is medicine, and I've said that before. And that's what works for me. I hope something works for y'all. I hope whatever motivates you to get out of the bed and get out there and live your life, I hope you continue to do that. And I hope that if there's a way to volunteer, if there's a way to do some good in this world, be kindness, pass on that kindness, please, please do that. Wherever you are, I'm talking to my Saudi students, I'm talking to my American friends, I'm talking to my British friends, I'm talking to whomever and wherever. Go out and make this world great. Go out and rule the day. Go out and be good in this world. Like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in this world. I don't say it enough, to be honest. Be the change you want to see in this world. And my change that I want to see in the world is just passing on kindness. And it is hard, y'all, passing on kindness. Because people will test you. And I'm like, you're lucky I got Jesus in my heart some days. Trust me. And that's going to be in probably the book about Uber driving and whatnot. Moving forward. Because I still can move forward, y'all. I still can. And that's kind of what I want to end this episode with today, because there are so many women who can't anymore. Talked about Kristen Larsen out in Australia and her sister, who is carrying on the torch in memory of her sister and doing amazing things in Australia. She lost her sister at the age of 27 when she passed away from ovarian cancer. 27, y'all. She's the youngest one that I have known. That I didn't meet her personally, but I did keep kind of in contact with them as far as like watching what they were doing, all the amazing things that they were doing. I believe they went to one of the conferences in DC, but I don't believe we met there. You meet such amazing people at those conferences, and Shannon hit on that last time. I wish they had it back. I wish they had this conference back, because it's one thing to meet people virtually, and it's great to have that option to meet people virtually, but there's just something about meeting somebody in person, the tangible aspect of meeting people in person. It's great. Online stuff can be great. Zoom can be great. Microsoft Teams can be great. What's that old way that we used to I forget the name of it. We used to be able to do stuff online before Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And that's how old it is, because I don't even remember the name of it. But you can talk on Snapchat, you can talk on Insta, you can talk on Facebook Messenger, you can talk on WhatsApp. Like, all those things are awesome. But it's that in-person feeling that you get that's amazing, of the people that you meet on this journey that we had at those DC conferences. And I know it's probably way less expensive to have them online, to do the virtual thing, and I get that so much. But I really hope that in the near future, they'll change it to where we can meet in person again, because I know I'm not the only one, and Shannon's not the only one who really misses that beautiful connection that we can make when we meet people. I wouldn't have met Kimberly. I wouldn't have met Shannon. I wouldn't have met Frida. I wouldn't have met Jamie. I wouldn't have met these amazing people if it wouldn't have been for those in-person conferences. And that's all I'm going to say about that for now. Maybe hit on that later on. I would love to get somebody from that organization to come on the show and be the guest for the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance. Just saying, throwing that out there, y'all. But Kristen was 27 and she was doing amazing things in advocacy. She was on TV. She would do fundraising, I believe. She did amazing things, but at the age of 27, she lost her life to ovarian cancer. And I remember reading about that, being just so heartbroken. And each time I meet people via Facebook, especially because a lot of people, again, I have not met in person, but I got to meet them through Facebook, watch their journey, and be rooting for them and hoping and praying and believing that they're going to continue to live and thrive. Unfortunately, then you get the message on Facebook that they're no longer with us, and it's devastating each time. And I have to pace myself for my mental well-being. I have to pace myself and not go to Facebook too much. I like to pop in from time to time, but for my own mental well-being, I think it's just better for just sparingly on there, because you will end up reading more continuing to die. And that's another thing I wanted to touch on. People, of course, we know breast cancer has more prevalence. Breast cancer has more people, more women getting it. Breast cancer is just a beast. But we also know that they have done amazing things with breast cancer, and their awareness, their advocacy has come a long way, and there are more and more women that are saved because of their awareness and advocacy. And bravo, they're doing amazing things. However, we still have over 12,000 women that die from ovarian cancer just in America, y'all. 12,270, I believe, some number like that. That's in America. Worldwide, there is over, I believe it's 140,000 women die worldwide from ovarian cancer every year. Those aren't bigger than breast cancer numbers. Those are not bigger than other cancer numbers, but those are big numbers just the same, and all those lives are just as important. Kristen was one of those people that died out of Australia. There's Joanna Gutermuth, and I apologize. My pronunciation on certain words and names are pretty horrible, so forgive me for the mispronunciation, because this is serious. We lost Joanna. We lost Kristen. We lost Sherry Pollex. Sherry Pollex was 44. She was a huge advocate for ovarian cancer awareness. She did amazing things. I really believe that she was going to be one of the ones who made it too. And I guess that's my not problem. I'm just so hopeful and optimistic, y'all, that I just pray that everybody's going to make it. That they're going to pull through and they're going to beat the odds. Not because I beat the odds, but because I do really want people to beat the odds, and I believe that it's possible. Then I get, a reality check that it is possible, but our stats are so bad when it comes to late stage. I met a wonderful woman named Jannice Holman in Pat Black, and I spoke just a second about that last time, a couple of episodes ago. They were sitting at a table that I sat down with my mother in 2013. They were just so delightful and so wonderful. Pat Black was older. Pat was probably in her maybe early 70s, and Janice was maybe 50 or so. They were just lovely and delightful, and it was just like meant for us to sit together at that table. And then we became friends throughout the conference, and we continued our friendship via Facebook. Unfortunately, Pat died within a year. I don't even know if it was a full year after that conference. And Janice and I got to hang out. I went over to Myrtle Beach to visit her over in South Carolina a couple of years after we met. It was wonderful, and she was still battling it. She never really got any time to have remission. It just never really gave her a break. But she always wanted to see her son get married, and she saw her son get married. And in fact, she didn't just see her son get married, she saw and met her grandson. So she got what she always wanted and more. But it doesn't mean the loss of her isn't just still as devastating. She left this world about 4 years ago. And I remember one of her messages to me is like, "I'm doing okay." She was always positive. She was always positive to me. She's, she's lost some weight and things of that nature, but she was holding on and she had strong faith. And I wanted to go see her one more time, but then it was COVID and everything was just so crazy, of course. And then she passed away. That hurt my heart, of course. But before that, before I ever met Janice and Pat Black, before I met all these amazing people at those conferences, I had a high school friend named Christynn Holt. Christy Holt is what I called her. And we went to high school. We played basketball together. She was a year older than me, 2 years older than me, I believe. We lost contact because I moved to two other high schools, and I didn't see her again until excuse me, I didn't see her again until 1993 in Hawaii in Waikiki. And I was at a bar, and this woman comes up to me and she's like, "I know you." And I'm like, "Okay, I mean, people say hope's never met a stranger." So I'm like, "Okay, how do we know each other?" And I couldn't tell yet. And she goes, "Well, your brother's name is this and your sister's name is this, and you went to Lake Worth." And I'm like, "Holy cow, who are you? How do you know all these things?" Because I hadn't seen her in probably 5 or 6 years. She looked different. She had really short hair. And then she's like, "Hope, you don't remember me. It's Christy Holt." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like what are the odds? What are the odds of not seeing somebody in those many years?" And then they were in the Navy. She was actually in the Navy and her ship was in port for like a day or two. So what are the odds that she's in the same freaking club as me and that we're both in the Navy? And that day we happened to be at the same place at the same time. And she recognized me. It was phenomenal. It was amazing, and gave her a big old hug, and we just talked briefly. And I don't know if we were supposed to meet up the next day, but she was on a ship, and I don't know if they were pulling out. But then we didn't talk. I know it's hard to imagine, but this was before Facebook. This was before all of the social media. This was before the internet, y'all. I know it's hard to imagine a life before that, but before all of this. But we lost touch. And fast forward to 2011, I get a friend request or something, and she's bald, and it said that she was going through cancer. This may have been right before I was diagnosed. I can't remember now, but it was not too much before I was diagnosed. And so I was like, the more I read, the more I read on her, the more I realized who she was, and it was Christynn Holt from high school, from the Navy. And she was, again, she's almost 2 years older than me. So I was 40, so she was 42. And she didn't make it. She was a fighter. All of them were. And she was basically told by the doctors that it would be inhumane to keep giving you more chemo. So she went to, I believe, Spain for some alternative treatments, maybe some holistic treatments. I don't know what exactly the treatment plan was, but it didn't take. So she came back to California. That's where she was living. She came back to California, and I think she was part of a motorcycle club or something, and they did like a motorcycle run in front of her house, like all these people on motorcycles, and to show their support and to encourage her and to motivate her. I remember seeing that on Facebook. But unfortunately, the next year around Christmas time, we got the news that she had passed away. And here's the kicker. I had a dream of her. And we weren't best friends. We knew each other in high school. She was so cool. Looked up to her as an older basketball player. She was really good athletic wise, really just a cool girl. And then I saw her in the Navy and all, but we weren't close. Yet I had a dream of her. I remember dreaming that everybody was partying in this dream. It's hard to explain, but everybody was partying. Like everybody was like having this great time. And she had already died. In my dream, I knew she had already died. And I'm like, why are you guys so excited? Like she's gone. Like she's dead. Like she died of cancer. Why are you guys, celebrating? And Christy actually was in the dream, and she came up to me, and I think she put her hand on my shoulder, and she was like, "Hope, it's okay. I'm in a better place. It's okay to be happy for me. I'm in a better place. I'm okay." Oh my gosh. And it's so much thinking about it. It's like, y'all don't know how I'm trying not to cry right now. It was that kind of beautiful, intense kind of dream. And it's encouraging too, because like, we do as Christians, as people of faith, even Muslims, people all over with their faith, they believe, we believe that there is something better after this life. We believe that this is just the end to the beginning. And so to have that dream, y'all, of Christy Holt, it was amazing. It was beautiful. And it gave me like this comfort that she was okay. And it's okay to celebrate because we do. It's called celebration of life, right? And so we have celebrations of life because we know that this isn't the end. This is the end to the beginning. And so, yeah, I just didn't expect to share that dream with you because I was like, I am not going to cry on this podcast for the whole world to hear me, weeping. It's not like there's anything wrong with that, of course. Crying is healthy, but I didn't want to do it on podcast. Just I have my boundaries. LOL. So Christy Holt, I remember her, and I remember Kristen Larsen, and I remember Joanna, and I remember Sherry Pollex, and I remember Jannice and Pat Black. And Jannice, Pat Black, and Christy are the ones that I knew in person. But I also knew a wonderful woman who was the mother of one of my good friends that I have known for 20 years now. Her name is Jocelyne. And Jocelyne and my friend Stephanie were just the most amazing mother-daughter relationship that I think there could be out there. And I loved my mother, and my mother and I were close, and I saw her as my best friend. But I don't know if there could be a closer relationship between mom and daughter, in my opinion, than Jocelyne and my friend Stephanie. And when I found out that Jocelyne had got ovarian cancer, I was very just taken aback and surprised. You almost hope and pray that that this insidious disease doesn't ever affect anyone close to me or anyone that's close to me that has a loved one, if that makes sense. It's bad enough. I always think it's bad enough that I got it, but I don't want it to ever, hit one of my friends or somebody one of my friends loves. So when I found out Jocelyne was going through ovarian cancer, I kept her in my prayers, and I sent good vibes, love and light to my friend Stephanie, and I really thought she was gonna be okay, and she was. I think, if memory serves me correctly, she was okay. I don't know if it was a full year. And Stephanie, I know you listen to my podcast, and I apologize if I don't get that time correct, but I want to remember your mother because this is what I'm talking about in this episode, is to remember those people, to remember those that we have lost to this disease. So basically she was okay, but then it came back and it just got worse. And she ended up passing away the same year my mother died in 2020. I know how it hit her. I know how it hit my friend because I knew of their relationship. They were just amazing mother-daughter friends. And it's never been the same for my friend. Just like my loss with my mother has never been the same. And it's almost like you wish you could go be with them, but you still have purpose here. And I know that's what drives my friend Stephanie, because she's a mom of 2 beautiful children. She's married. She is thriving in work with adoption and things of that nature, as well as other things. And she's got purpose. I know that as much as she misses her mother, she knows her mother would want her to keep moving forward, because she's got a teenage son, I believe now, and 2 little bitty ones, and 2 little bitty adorable ones. And all the things that she's doing in her life is for purpose, and she's moving forward. I'm so glad that you are, Stephanie. A big love to you. I miss you so much. I can't wait to see you again. And so to Jocelyne, we remember her. We remember Sherry Pollex. We remember Joanna Gutermuth. We remember Kristen Larsen. We remember Monica Tiffany Kuijer. She was 32 when she passed away, and I never met her either. But I kept abreast of her journey. And she was so young, just like Kristen. The 2 youngest ones that I've met anyway, or know about from the Facebook groups. And then Susan Glen, out of Canada. She did this woman was so amazing. They have like a bench somewhere in a park there in Canada for her in memory of her. She started like symptom cards in other languages. She she was just an amazing strong woman, and she kept just being positive light and love for everyone throughout all of that she was going through. And we remember her. We remember all of them. Jannice, Pat, Kristen, Christine, Christy, Monique, Susan, Kristen, Joanna, Jocelyne, and Sherry, and there were others. There was a wonderful woman that I couldn't get her last name because I don't know if her family took her off Facebook, but her name is Kimberly. She always smiled. Oh my gosh, she had the biggest smile ever. And she was just this ray of sunshine. She always had a coffee mug in her hand, and she always had the biggest smile ever throughout it all. I don't think I ever saw her not smile. And she was going through some serious pain when she was battling cancer. There were others as well. I don't have all their names, but I remember their faces. And I just want this episode to be about that too. Everything that I've talked about, but also let's remember those who have passed away. There are too many to count. Again, over 12,000 women die every year from ovarian cancer. Worldwide, 140,000. 140,000 worldwide die from ovarian cancer. That's the latest stats. We must remember them. We must never forget them. And we must keep moving forward with purpose for them. Be the voice that they no longer have. And live. That's what I'm doing. I'm living for them, not just myself, not just for my family, not just for my friends, not just for my former students. I'm living for those who have passed away and hoping that I do it justice. A couple of times maybe, I've said, I just want to earn what I've been given. And people say, like, you're doing good in this world, Hope. You wrote a book, you pass on symptom cards, you started a podcast, you talk about it to whomever and wherever, and that is good. But I still feel like I'm not doing enough. Maybe that's just who I'll always be. Because I want to earn the fact that I'm still here when so many people are not. I feel like I could do more. I want to do more. And with God's help, I'm going to do more in whatever way. And if it's getting people to listen to this podcast and the wonderful women and maybe even some men that I'm going to bring on, then that is awesome. And I just give God the glory. And as far as earning it, I think it's just something about me and my personality, my character. It's like I have been here almost 13 years. December 15th makes 13 years since that surgery to remove all the cancer, where I could have died in surgery alone. And so I've been here 13 years. Well, every year 12,000 women die in America. Well, every year 140,000 women die worldwide from ovarian cancer. So I want to do the best I can with all my energy and my tenacity and love for the life I've been given. I hope that makes sense. And I guess that's what I'll end on, is that. I hope you keep coming back to listen for more of Teal Time with Hope with all the guests that I'm going to bring on here. Tell a friend. Tell 100 friends. Heck, tell 1,000 friends. Let's get this the attention that I do believe personally, and I'm not just biased. I know so many others who believe the same. Give it the attention that it needs with ovarian cancer awareness and ovarian cancer advocacy. Let's get people to listen, because it's still worth listening to. It's still worth passing it on. And those are my hashtags. Hashtag sharing is caring. Hashtag pass it on. Hashtag why not. Hashtag let's do this. All right. That's all I got for y'all today. Come back next week for guest, and come back every week or every other week once I start doing one every other week, because I truly appreciate it. Be well, stay well. God bless. Hope you're smiling today. Hope it's a great one. Bye for now.